So we had like 4 pheasants to a man.
Yeah.
And so I breasted them all out. So we go through the cupboards at the Airbnb, and we find that they have ramen noodles, 6 or 7 packages.
It was expired, too.
It was expired by a long shot. Hello and welcome to the Greenway Outdoors podcast in our makeshift going through changes, life growth really, podcast room.
Teen years.
My name's Kyle.
I'm Ryan.
I'm AJ.
And we have Beth on the line with us. Now, Beth Shimanski runs all the marketing over at Savage Arms. And as you guys know, we've been working with Savage for a little over a year. But if you look at our older episodes, you're going to see Savage sprinkled all throughout. Right now, we have our episode from Hawaii on there that we shot like 4 or 5 years ago on YouTube. You can find it on our YouTube channel or Carbon TV. And if you look back then, I was using Savage back then too. I had a 110. It's like the classic wood version. What do you guys call that one?
I think that was just the 110 Hunter back in the day, or Trophy Hunter.
Okay, yeah, I had that gun. It was my dad's 270. He bought it, was all excited about it, and I was like, I need a 270 for where I'm going. And then he's like, all right, go ahead. So I've been, and my first rifle was a Savage. A lot of the guns that have been passed down to me through generations, my dad was always a big Savage proponent. And his he brings it up anytime I bring up Savage. He brings up the fact that he has a, he calls it, it's kind of like an over-under, but it's a 20 gauge barrel and a 22 barrel. And he's like, name a better rabbit gun. He's like, he brings it up. I think he has a 410 version as well, where it's like the one on top and one on bottom. Do you guys still manufacture that one or no?
We do. So we have a Model 42 today, which is the 410, and then we have a 22 LR version or a 22 WMR version. But we get asked all the time, bring back the 20 gauge, so just, it's something that's always in the pipeline. But yeah, we have it's called the Model 42 today that has those two options. It
really does make a whole lot of sense.
So say you decided to bring that gun back, and you'd have to re-engineer it for modern times in some sense. I don't know if I'm allowed to ask this question, but like start to finish, like from
here he goes.
from conception to like it being on a shelf, how long does that usually take?
It depends on what tooling is needed. Tooling is really the lead time. Design can be done quickly, and I say quickly in a matter of probably 12 to 20 weeks.
Oh wow! Okay.
But tooling could be anywhere from 12 weeks to 24 weeks, depending on what you're doing. So we've had products, if it's a line extension, we've been able to get it to market in probably 4 to 6 months. Things like the Impulse.
That was my next question. Yeah, that was my next question.
That was probably a 3-year project, just because that was starting from scratch. So it just depends on the level of design, testing, and tooling, engineering that has to go into it.
You could see why that rifle, though, not the Impulse, because we'll get into that, but the over-under of, like, if you saw a rabbit sitting, he's yours with the 22, and then you're not ruining a bunch of meat, but you're walking around with the intention of a pop-up.
Right.
You're using the 410, or even, like, squirrel hunting if they're on the ground running, but if you can get them up in a tree, it's nice to have both. It really is.
It's such a fun idea, too.
Yeah.
Two guns in one.
Yeah, I've been doing some thinking. I'm an over-under guy, and I know that people are starting to get back into the side-by-side thing right now.
Mm-hmm.
I get the thought of the 2 triggers, but I am more likely to effectively burn through my open spread and get to my Titan one with 2 shots than I am to remember. I've never been a 2-trigger guy.
No.
I just want the one.
How does that work?
So it's like there's 2 barrels. Now, the benefits of an over-under, like I have the 5.55E, which I shot a grouse with this past weekend, in the 16 gauge, which is a really fun gauge. It's between 12 and 20.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes 12 is too much. 20 is a little light. It's just it's the sweet 16 is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But basically what happens is there'd be 2 triggers, and the idea is if you have 2 barrels with 2 different chokes, think of it like a hose, where you tighten up the hose and it makes it more narrow so it goes farther spread.
Mm-hmm.
You can have 2 different chokes in and then pick which one you're shooting with. But by the same token, what I was doing with the 5.55E was you can pick which barrel shoots first. So I had cylinder in the bottom, and I had improved cylinder in the top. And I'd be walking around in areas where it was like, if something happens, it's going to be right here. And I'd have it clicked over where I knew that one was going to shoot first. And then if I was like, I'm seeing a lot of space here, I'm getting long distance vibes, I'd click over to the improved cylinder, so that would shoot first. I wanted to ask you, Beth, and Ryan as well, I know you've got more over-under experience than me. When I was hunting with Kellen this weekend, he had mentioned that it's smarter to have your bottom barrel shoot first.
Yes.
Is there any context to that? Like, I don't know anything about it.
Well, he's saying that based on recoil. So that way that you don't have, there's not a recovery time. Like, say you take your first shot with your top barrel, your gun's going to bump up. Now you got to bring it back down, get back on target, and then shoot. Whereas if you shoot the bottom barrel first, it shoots straight back into your shoulder. You don't have to spend as much time readjusting to get back on target.
I see.
So it's a time efficiency thing.
I see. Just getting back on target.
Mm-hmm. That's why I like the over/under. I mean, I don't know. It's like Ford versus Chevy, the over/under versus side by side, like that type of deal.
Oh, geez.
There's always like a battle.
You mean Ram versus Toyota? But yeah.
Well, I don't put us in that category because that's in the upper echelon.
Yeah, I got you. Nice. Well, yeah. We did a grouse hunt this past weekend, and it was funny. Me, Kellen, and Ryan were all using the same gun because we all got the same 16 gauge from you guys.
Nice.
It is, and yeah, I think what startles most people, like when I hand it around, is the how light it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because Kellen had a few, like a, what did he have, a 410 or a 28 gauge out there that was significantly heavier than the 16 gauge that had two barrels on it.
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah, I was really, really happy with the 555E. Now, that says Stevens on it, and a lot of people, explain the relationship between Savage and Stevens.
Yeah, so Stevens has been a part of the Savage brand since the 1940s or 50s, actually. And we've actually used the Stevens brand as products that are imported. So the 555 actually come from Turkey. We have a manufacturer over there that only produces for us. So that's why that one carries the Stevens brand. Anything that is going to carry the Savage brand is actually manufactured here in North America. So like the Renegade, the Centerfires are all built in Westfield, Massachusetts. And then we have a small rimfire facility up in Lakefield, Ontario. So anything North American made carries Savage. Anything imported, we put the Stevens brand on.
So that's actually good to know. So the Turkey, a lot of good guns are made in Turkey, actually. Like it's like
the
that,
country.
Like the country of Turkey is like
not the animal.
No, there's a lot of different manufacturers. I want to say, is Taurus made there or were they? I want to say Taurus.
There's some Taurus there. I mean, we sent our product team over there, and within one small little valley, there's 200 firearm manufacturers in Turkey.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean,
why?
And it's beautifully crafted. Like you would think you were in a doctor's office with how white, how pristine, the amount of CNC machining they have, the Turkish walnut, just the rooms of Turkish walnut. I mean, it's a really good place to go, and they make really solid products, and it's at a price point that we just can't hit manufacturing here in the US. So that's why we kind of use that sub brand to support products like that for us,
and also be able to get something in everybody's hands.
Do you know why Turkey became the place, to manufacture this stuff?
I think it's a few things. One, they have access to resources, and I think they've got a really solid workforce over there, and then they just have space. They're really good at exporting, so I think the government was very kind to them, but it's a place where a lot of people are moving to and bringing product over from.
Interesting.
Another question that might be a little edgy.
We can cut anything you don't like.
Yeah. But with the political climate of Canada changing, have you seen any effects with that? Just because it seems like they're kind of being forced into a position where you can't have guns, unfortunately.
They are. So they haven't, the ownership side of things, yes, it's affected there. We can't sell our handguns up there. There's a concern about anything semi-automatic up there. So Renegades we can't sell up there. We have a very vocal, active group at Lakefield, Ontario, our facility up there, that is working with the government because they make all of our rimfires, and a semi-auto A22 we still want to be able to make and sell into Canada, but we also make those and ship them down here. So from a manufacturing standpoint, it hasn't hurt us, but from products we're able to sell in, it's become a place we're actively working to make sure that we're heard.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's sad to see it going that way, and so much misinformation, and obviously
and the people have no choice in it. It just is what it is. Yep, you can't have that anymore. You're done.
That's what happens when there's a king.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
That's the problem. That's why we don't like kings in America. We get rid of kings. I was going to talk to you too about. I know we had like an idea of what we're going to talk about, but I just am so fascinated by so much. What I like about Savage is the fact that, and the reason why we partner with you guys, and I have said this to you a few times, is number one, you guys are young and forward-thinking. So I like the way that you guys deliver content. I like the messaging. I like the fact that typically if we don't like an answer on something, it's like what you're saying is like we're making sure our voices are heard, but really you're speaking on behalf of all of us, which is important. And we air in Canada. We have a lot of people, we have a lot of Canucks that watch our show. So, that is important. But also I really like the idea that there is a Savage or Stevens for everybody. There's a price point for everyone. I mean, there's guns that start in the $150 range, and then we have guns that go all the way up to $3,000, and just about everything in between. And there's something for everybody. Something my dad always said, and like I said, I grew up around Savages. He always said, he goes, Savages are the best, and that's why everyone always everyone's always trying to use their barrels. So a lot of different manufacturers and stuff. What is special about Savage barrels that everybody wants them? Because other manufacturers use them.
We do. We produce barrels for people. So there's a few things that, as we built our manufacturing capabilities, we wanted to bring the best out-of-the-box accuracy. So that's kind of what's been driving us. So one of the things that you'll see from us when you guys come out to the factory, hopefully this year,
Great.
there's a few things that we do in a mass manufacturing capacity that you'll find in a lot of gunsmith shops. So it's how we swing our barrels. We have a 0 head spacing tolerance. So that means that bolt is paired to that barrel, and it is serialized to that gun. So if you guys ever take your guns apart, you will see the last 4 serial number on the bolt that is paired to that gun. If we ever get something back from a consumer, the first thing we'll ask is, does your bolt match up? So that bolt goes through the entire production process with that gun. So that's one thing, 0 head spacing.
That's interesting.
That's really cool.
I've never heard of anything like that.
Yep. We also have every barrel is hand straightened, whether it needs it or not. So we have a guy, you guys will meet him, his name is Shep Torres, and he has a device that looks like it's from the 1800s, and he is making sure that everything is lined up perfectly in every single barrel that comes through the floor. We have precision button rifling that is done. And it's not one of these things, it's a combination of all of them that really give us that accuracy out of the box and what makes our barrels stand apart.
That's super cool. Yeah, I that was the thing, is I've always had good groupings, and my dad, I've always considered like a really good marksman. He's a really good rifleman, and groupings are everything to him, and that's why he's always gone with Savage. So it's just kind of cool to have grown up around it and then see how it's done. He's gonna be super jealous when we come there. Yeah, I told the guys too about being able to make their own gun and stuff. So now they're like, "Well, when did she say?" I'm like, "She said maybe."
We'll make it happen.
Yeah.
We'll make it happen.
I think it'd be cool to shoot some content in the facility and everything like that.
100%.
So one of the new guns that we just talked about briefly was, you had mentioned the Impulse. So for those of you who don't know, I have a gun called the Impulse Mountain Hunter. And the idea behind it is that it's a straight pull. And everyone's like, well, what the hell does that mean? So when you're racking the gun, or, you're spitting out the cartridge, racking the next one in, instead of the traditional bolt action where you go up and then back and then up and over, you're able to be in nice and tight. And so me not being like a gunsmith, or, me simply being a consumer that shoots guns and hunts, the benefits that I noticed were there's a rail on top, so you're able to put your scope super low to the gun, whereas historically you can't necessarily do that, because if you're racking over, you'd be bumping the scope when you're lifting up on your bolt and then trying to go back and over. So the scope is able to sit lower. Now, why does that matter? I know that if you think of, and I really studied this when I was having problems with archery of like, why am I closer but I have to use a far away pin? And it's understanding the flight of the arrow and how it matches up with the sights, and it's not any different with a scope. So if a scope sits on top of your gun, then a bullet doesn't fly straight, right? It goes up and then comes down over a course of time. So you, as the person sighting in a gun, have to decide where in the flight of the bullet do you want the crosshairs to line up with the flight of the bullet. So that means that the scope is always tilted just a little bit down in order to because it's sitting up higher. So the thing is, the higher up the scope is, the more you would have to tilt down to account for that. But the steeper the tilt down, the more impact and the lower part of the line of the flight of the bullet are you crossing with. So if you're sitting lower, you're not having to aim the scope down quite as much in order to account for that arc. So that was just something in me learning in archery, is like, because a little bit of a simpler thing, and we have a video on this actually with archery and how to sight in your bow. Mm-hmm. It's on our YouTube channel. We shot it at Bass Pro. Mm-hmm. But when I was doing that, I was like, okay, my 10-yard pin is here. Boom, 10 yards. My 20-yard pin is here. Boom, okay. Then I would come up and I'd shoot from 5 yards. So I'd be like, oh, I'll use my top pin because I'll use the closest pin, right? Well, it was hitting incredibly low. Well, I had to use my third pin down, which means my 30-yard pin at the 5-yard mark, because I wasn't giving the arrow the appropriate amount of time to come up to catch up to the sight. So that's like, you have to understand that a bullet just isn't instantaneous and it follows a trail. So I like the idea. Number one, you don't have to buy a railing or anything like that for the gun. It just is on it. So that's really nice. And then you can sit your scope lower to the gun. In addition to that, when you are racking and putting your next bullet in, it's easier to stay on sight, on plane, looking at the scope. Because if you're going like this, you're for sure breaking your vision at the scope. There's no way around it. It's impossible not to. You are going to break your vision. But if you are racking straight back and straight forward, and it's so quick, then you're never taking your focus off of that scope, and you're able to stay downrange and acquire your target again faster. To describe it to people, because I've had a lot of people ask me, they're like, well, what is happening? Because something is disengaging, allowing the cartridge to be let go of. And I say it's on a hinge is the way I would explain it. Is it's kind of like it almost like breaks and then comes back. So I know
I tend to think I'm a little mechanically inclined.
Yeah. And
looking at this thing, it's confusing. Like, trying to figure it out mechanically just by looking at it, it's tough to like follow, like how it's all in there. So you guys did a good job with it. It's pretty cool.
So,
and we know that this, I mean, a straight pull is not new. Straight pull's been in Europe for, a century, and it's primarily what they hunt with over there, because they're doing a lot of driven hunts, and it is fast target acquisition and reloading and staying, lined up for the next shot. And we knew, bringing this to the U.S. and North America, the major thing we were going to have to kind of get people to overcome is
education.
Is it safe?
Oh,
because when you have the traditional bolt, when that handle's down, that bolt's not moving. So when we look at the straight pull, the ball bearings, the hex lock, what you're talking about, that is our safety mechanism. So it was designed there's a groove when the bolt is closed. There's 6 ball bearings in there that when, that final click you hear when you close the bolt, those are locked into place. And when the firing pin actually fires, those actually press outward even more. So as the cartridge is being fired, there's even more pressure at the end of that bolt to keep it closed. And then, like you said, Kyle, you kind of unlock it and then it slides back. But yeah, there was a lot of safety testing, validation, pressure testing that went in to make sure that whatever we bring to market was a safe solution, because we thought that would be the number one issue to overcome over here.
Is it a couple questions? Question number one, is my theory on the scope sitting lower to the gun correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
And it's one less thing that can come loose on the rifle.
Right.
Like you
right.
had it where if you shoot enough, the screws are going to start to back
Yeah.
out. Well, it's integrated into the aluminum receiver. So yes, sits lower and one less moving piece that could come loose over time.
No, that was I didn't say it, but that's one of the big selling points on it. Is like it's there, it's one less thing to buy, and like you said, it's one less thing to go wrong. So yeah, I can completely understand that. We got one in a 6.5 PRC, mainly because we were doing long distance shooting for pronghorn, which I understand you have recently been on a pronghorn hunt.
I have. I don't know why it's so difficult for you. I mean, it took me about 45 minutes.
I went to the wrong state. Tell us about your hunt. How it went down.
Awesome. Yeah. So it was my first pronghorn hunt over in just south of Buffalo, Wyoming. And I'm like in like my Sunday, like driving over. We're going to start hunting. Monday we're camping out in the prairie, like looking forward to the weekend. I'm jamming out to Lady Gaga or whatever was on the playlist that we driving down. And so we pull off, and my buddy and the camera guy are up ahead of us in the next truck, and they stop under the overpass. And I'm like, okay, what are we doing? And he's like, we're going to go shoot that pronghorn. And I'm like, what pronghorn? And he's been hunting here for 5 years, and he's like, I've never seen a buck in that prairie. And we're like, okay. So
you're like, but I haven't suffered yet.
Yeah, I know. So we drive up the hill about a half mile, get out of sight, and I'm in road trip clothes. So I've got my slip-on shoes, my wind pants, my hoodie. I'm not in hunting apparel. So we grab our spotters, run back about a quarter mile, and get eyes on them. And he's like, you know what? For first pronghorn, he's like, it's pretty good, average to above average. And I'm not one to shy away when someone says it's a representative animal. I'm like, I'm going to say, let's go. So we did. So we ran back to the car, and it was about 5:30. We had it till about 6:45 shooting light. So I have to find blaze orange. I have all the guns in a pack. My car is just full because we're camping for a week. So after about 10 minutes, I've got my blaze orange on, got my tag in my pack.
Couple swear words for sure.
Oh,
yeah. Oh God.
Exactly.
Where are the bullets? Where are the bullets? Do you have the bullets?
I got them. So we got everything on our pack. We made our trek down there. It took us about 20 minutes to get down there, and did our typical crawl up over a mound, and he was at about 195 yards, and took about 5 minutes for him to give us the perfect broadside shot, but he did. So 45 minutes in, and I had mine on the ground.
Unreal. In slippers.
Yeah.
In slippers, yeah. I did put my hiking boots on because I had 5 minutes to do that, so we were good.
How long did you say the shot was?
Ended up being just under 200.
Okay. What's really funny about her story is it's something that I've never seen, and I'd never seen this ever in my life, but it's something we all made note of when we were hunting pronghorn. When you're looking, you're looking. When you're shooting, you're shooting. Yeah, it's like, for whatever reason, the people we were hunting with, it's like everywhere we would go, they'd be like, we're just going to go glass right now, and we'll get our guns if we see anything. And you said the same thing. Is like you went and looked, and then you go get the gun. I'm like,
that's crazy.
I know, it drives me nuts. I'm like, I want that gun on me. What if?
Yeah, what if you come over the hill? They're right there. Who knows?
Now what?
Yeah. Oh, well, I got to run 500 yards back to the truck.
Yeah, no.
It doesn't make sense.
No, I don't like it.
Not at all.
But yeah, I noticed that with everyone. Is like, we'd walk like a half mile and they'd be like, all right, let's go get those guns. I'm like, what are you talking about? But we had a different experience in New Mexico. It was tough hunting. Getting pronghorn was not an easy thing for us. We didn't see that many. And like we'd spot them a mile and a half away. We'd be looking at them, and then they would we like finally get the binoculars on them and like pick them out of the side, and they've been there all day, but you didn't see them. They're a mile and a half away, and they're all looking at you. It's like, what? Give me a break, man. Yeah. So that was our experience. So I want to hunt with you, which I know we're actually in the beginning stages of planning it. Beth and I are going to pick out a bunch of tags that we think would be an interesting hunt, put in lotteries, and then hope for the best. So hopefully next fall or spring or whatever it is, we'll be able to knock one down. What's your experience with bears?
I have only ever done one bear hunt, and it was this past spring out in Idaho. So it was with actually Sportsman's Alliance, and it was with spring bears doing with dogs and over bait. And it was actually a huge learning experience for me. I think a lot of people. So I'm fairly new to my hunting career. I've only been hunting 6 years since I've been working for Savage, so I'm still learning every day. And I think I kind of went in like a lot of our consumers or people in the industry or even outside the industry of, what is hunting with dogs and over bait? Is it cheating? Is it, super easy hunting? And my mind was completely changed having to go through that experience. So that's the only time I've been able to hunt bears. Was like actually fortunate to harvest one with an amazing group of dogs one morning. But yeah, beautiful cinnamon bear. So
Oh wow!
pretty happy with that one.
If you're gonna get a bear, that's one heck of a first bear. How is the meat?
It's pretty good. So I took the back straps and we did some sausage with it just to make sure that we cooked it to the right temp and took care of it. But it's really good, really good.
I'm pretty impressed with a lot of the bear meat that I've had, and I've heard a lot of stories from people, and one of which we were actually going to work with, and then we ended up not because I heard this story. But I have heard so many people, and it's in Idaho and Utah, and I think Utah, but for sure Idaho, but places where people get bear, and that you don't have to harvest the meat legally, so they take the skin and they leave the bear meat.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and
Really?
there was someone we were going to partner with that told me that story, and we bailed right after because it was like they were bragging about it, and it's a reputable company. I can't tell you who it is on here, but maybe offline I will. But when they were talking about it, it was like unbelievable to me that was a thing, and then I've heard it several times repeated since I heard it the first time there. And I do know that bear are notorious for picking up the flavors of what they eat quite a bit. Like, they're highly impacted by that. And the bear that was being discussed was near water and picking up salmon. And that was, like, why they were gross. But I could never kill something and then just leave it. And, even the thought of that makes me sick to my stomach. I've never even really been a big fan of those pig hunts where they're not harvesting the pig.
No.
Like, I don't like it.
It's
a certain type of people.
Yeah.
that, and I don't like trapping. I mean, if you do it, fine. Personally, it's something about it. Unless it's like a live trap, I don't like the snares or
Well, the snares are okay if they're the ones. I like to kill them quick.
Yeah.
I like to be killing things quick, and I don't like nothing.
It pulls at my heartstrings a little bit.
I don't like wasting it. I don't like wasting anything, and whatever reason, bear hunting seems to be the one that I'm hearing the most of is wasted.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and in pigs, it's just widely accepted because they're such a problem. But I still can't get behind it. I wouldn't want to.
Yeah, I could see that going either way. If you had to deal with the problem, you might. You might.
What am I supposed
otherwise.
to eat pig every day of my life? Yeah, that's probably true. But there's things that you can do as far as donations and stuff too. Of they'll process the meat and stuff.
Yeah.
I think that if you're gonna go out with a gun and kill something, you should have a pretty good understanding of what you're gonna do with it after going into it. And I can't get behind shooting and leaving. I just can't.
Yeah.
Or just taking the fur. That gets very what we did to the bison feel to it.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
So you said that you're relatively new to hunting. So you got your job at Savage. And
How long have you been at Savage?
I started in early 2017.
Okay.
So almost 7 years.
So did all your coworkers are you gotta go hunt, or how did you start getting the ball rolling with hunting?
It was more me wanting to learn. So I grew up, my dad hunted, but it was his kind of what he did with the guys in the fall. That was his little vacation every year, would go hunting. So I have two siblings. None of us hunted. We had guns in the house, but didn't. I mean, we knew how to shoot them. We knew the safety, everything around them, but didn't hunt. So when I started at Savage, I was like, well, we were primarily a bolt action hunting company. And I'm like, well, if I'm going to lead marketing for this group, I should probably understand, the clientele, what drives them.
Sure.
And funny story, it took me 3 hours to get my first buck down, my first whitetail, the first day. And
I gotta hunt with
it
you
was
for
funny.
sure.
Yeah,
So
no,
I-
for real.
All right, I'll go.
Got a great hunting life.
Yeah.
This is my team teases me that I carry a horseshoe around with me because it
Yeah.
happens a lot. So anyway, and I swear I'm a picky hunter, but maybe not. But no, it took walking up on that first buck, and I'm like you, Kyle. Like I want a good shot. I'm mad at myself if it's not a good shot. If it's not a quick ethical kill, it eats at me. So I shot. It was almost the last light. We saw it run off. Didn't really know how we did, and to walk up that hill and see it laying 20 yards away, like to me it clicked, and I've been hooked ever since. So anytime there's a hunt opportunity, I'm the first one to raise my hand to go. I've been blessed to go. I've gotten to do caribou in Alaska. We took riders to New Zealand this last year for stag and tar, and just anything I can chase around here. I'm hooked. So it's been a lot of hunts in 6 years, but I'm always looking forward to the next one.
Do you tend to focus? It sounds like maybe you do. Do you tend to focus towards big game, or like do you do upland, or what's your primary?
So my primary, I would say right now, has been big game. Just with a lot of the products we've had, that's usually what drives where I go. So a lot of the new products we've had have been, centerfire bolt action or impulse rifles. I have gotten into waterfowl as we've had the Renegade. I've actually never upland hunted. I have a 5.55E, but I have not yet gone. So we're planning to do that here this winter. Megan on my team lives over in Sioux Falls, and we've got friends on the other side of South Dakota.
When are you going? When are you going?
We're not sure yet. I got to talk to Megan and see what her plans look like. You guys coming over?
Yeah, we're going there.
Yeah.
So we're looking at November 27th through December 4th or something like that. We already have a connection at one place, where near Mitchell, but I haven't I haven't started cementing anything yet. But we gotta, if you guys are there, we have to hook up at least a day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. We're gonna be filming an episode while we're there, but that would be sick. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're the 27th through the 3rd, so we're supposed to leave right after Thanksgiving and then be there till December 3rd or 4th.
Okay.
So,
awesome. Yeah. If I can't make it over, like that, Megan's in Sioux Falls. She's right there as well. So that would be good.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Bunch of 5.5Es out in that field, lighting up some big roosters. I will say that Ryan's the more upland guy because he has dogs and has trained him his whole life and stuff like that. I'm more or less like absorbing everything from him and Kellen because Kellen's our PR director because they both live, sleep, breathe, and eat it. But, man, it edges close to being the best, for me is like for a few reasons. One, it's like nice days in the field.
Yeah,
like
you're comfortable.
2, it's like I even hate to say the words because everyone says it, but you get to see the dogs work, which is cool. I just like being around dogs any chance I can get. But 3 is like the meat is just better than everything. So what are you going to do about? I mean, you get a grouse, it's like the greatest meat on the planet. So I just for upland, like for the sake of food, and like eating a pheasant's a whole lot of fun. So I
love it.
Yeah, we went to South Dakota one time. We filmed an episode back in the day. And it was just a part of it. And I remember we stayed at an Airbnb, and we had already grocery shopped, but didn't think about any seasoning or spices or anything. And like it's an hour to any grocery store, and we get all these pheasants and we clean them, and we're like, we got to eat these before we go home. So we had like 4 pheasants to a man.
Yeah.
And so I breasted them all out. So we go through the cupboards at the Airbnb, and we find that they have ramen noodles in the cupboard, like hoarding, like there was like 6 or 7 packages.
Expired too.
It was expired by a long shot, but we're like, does it expire? And then we did the whole thing of like, if it's expired, with how long it has a shelf life, these got to be like we were figuring out if they were older than Ryan.
Yeah.
But anyhow, we took those ramen noodles, and we're like, because there's seasoning in it, and it was all like chicken noodle ramen, ramen noodles. So I like fried them in butter and then put them in the broth in the crock pot that we found there with water, the ramen noodles, and then like too much seasoning. We used like 4 things of noodles but 8 things of seasoning, and then put that in with the pheasant and enough water, and I'll be honest, we killed it.
It did.
It turned out great. Like it was like
You wouldn't want to eat it if you just like walked in the room and looked at it. You'd be like, I'm not.
yeah, it wasn't our proudest.
It looked like prison food.
Yeah, it was kind of. It was kind of funny too. It was like it was just the four of us, but for some reason we said grace. It was like, and it was just like this bowl of water and noodles and pheasant in there, and it was not bad. But we plan on doing a little better recipe this go round.
Yeah.
Consequently, that was actually our most successful TikTok as well. Is we I showed people the gutless method, or I guess gut-filled method, of how to clean a pheasant. You step on the wings really close to the body. You grab the legs. And you pull upwards, and all the guts and the head and everything folds up through the body, and then just pops out. And it's like a very poppy thing. And then it's just the meat, and then you clip off the wings, and you're done. And it's like just the breast on the plate. But I did it so perfectly and quickly, and I don't know how. It was like when TikTok was still newer, so. It was all like Gen Z on there. And I just remember some of the comments. They're like, yo. Like, that's all they said. Because it's like people that have never hunted. And I like went down this rabbit hole. We got 135,000 views in 135,000 views in 6 hours. Thousands of comments. And
It went crazy.
tens of thousands of likes. And then we got shadow banned. And we were kicked off TikTok for quite some time. Because apparently it was more, and I fought it, and they're like, "Are you serious?" they're like,
Yeah, good luck.
You're a monster." But yeah, that was our experience. But I will show you that method if we hunt together. But and I'll make you a better recipe for eating.
Hey, I like ramen, so it can't be that bad.
No. I mean, like I said, it's maybe when no one else is over, we'll do that, and then if we have a group together.
See, the hard part about that recipe is finding the 20-year-old expired ramen.
Yeah,
Which is key.
That is the whole play. Is if it's not expired, we don't know that it'll play the same. Because isn't it where the seasoning like loses some pop over time, like the older it is? So maybe we would only use 6 packets if it was more recently expired.
Yeah.
The Greenway Outdoors is brought to you by Ram Trucks, built to serve. Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's, your adventure starts here. Savage Arms, better comes standard. Nosler Ammunition, world's finest bullets, ammunition, and brass. Boss Shot Shells, superior made and American made. Carlson's Choke Tube's the only choke tube we've ever purchased. Onyx Hunt, know where you stand.
You want to be here. It all starts here. At Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's, we have the widest selection of the quality brands you love to get you outdoors. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, our friendly, knowledgeable outfitters will help you find the right products for your next trip. Shop with confidence with our low price guarantee. Plus, club members save even more on great gear with exclusive member pricing. Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's, voted America's best outdoor retailer.
For every purpose, for every path, for every soul, for every season, there's a Ram.
Legends aren't born, they're created. Introducing Impulse from Savage, the all-new American-made straight-pull bolt-action rifle. Unmatched innovation, fast reloads, maximized efficiency, repeatable accuracy. Welcome to American Straight Pull, only from Savage.
So one of the main topics that we wanted to talk about on this podcast, too, as far as new products go, if you look at a lot of the new Savage products, there's a new rifle that just came out. If you want to talk about that first before I go into the caliber.
Absolutely. So kind of one of the things you talked about earlier is We've tried to have a product for everybody and kind of fill every price point. And one of the things is, the 110 is kind of our bread and butter. It's been around since the late 50s. Fun fact of why it's called the 110 is it cost $109.95 when we first built it. So that's why it's the Model 110.
Okay.
But our Model 110 really started at higher up the price ladder than we wanted it to. Our first step into the 110, was kind of that $600, $700, $800 price point. And we know there's a huge part of the market that's aged out of our Axis line, which is really our entry level line. So we brought out a new product actually about 2 weeks ago when we talked, the 110 Trail Hunter. So what we did here is we partnered with Hogue. It's an overmolded green stock.
And you said you made it green because of your favorite show. Something like that, I think.
It is,
yeah.
Yes. We almost called it the 110 Greenway, but I lost that battle.
Oh,
so.
Well, I'll help you fight next time. I'm very convincing. I can cry. He'll stomp his feet.
Mm-hmm. You throw good fits.
Yeah.
But this is a rifle that's either it's a great entry level rifle or it's a great stepping stone for someone. This is probably a rifle that's going to be used a lot in your guys' area.
Mm-hmm.
This is, if you're sitting in a stand in a blind, we know this rifle is going to get put through the elements. So we put a tungsten colored Cerakote on the barrel and the action. And then it has kind of all of those same components that we talked about with the 110, a button rifled barrel. It has our AccuTrigger, which is user adjustable. We're actually celebrating the 20th anniversary of AccuTrigger. And this is going to come in probably about 15 different calibers because we know it is such a versatile platform. So we put it anything, down to a 223 all the way up to a 7mm PRC. So this is going to be a rifle that, again, is really fit for anyone for any use.
What's the price point on it? Isn't it like, I think it's $7 roughly?
So the MSRP is $629. So you're probably looking at, between $550 and $575 at retail.
Okay. That's awesome. That's not bad at all.
No, it's not.
No. Yeah, and that's the thing is it's got all those benefits to it for a super reasonable price. Now, one of the calibers, and I'll start this off by saying, number one, I'm going to be writing a blog for Savage on this caliber once I get to run it through the ringer a little bit to see what I find. But if everyone in Michigan does this, if you look from here down, we are in a restricted rifle zone. And what that means is they've decided that there was too many houses and it's heavily populated areas.
Which is crazy.
And also that nobody has common sense, apparently, so we need to be guided in what weapons we can use. But the government has dictated that from there down we have to use limited guns that aren't able to shoot quite as far. And the idea is if they can drop off and then you're not going to be shooting into a house if it goes past 400 yards. Although, little fun fact, I maybe shouldn't say this. I think I've said this before, though, so I don't care. It is funny, though, that technically in Michigan, you could carry any gun you want into the woods, and if you ever got caught, you could say you were coyote hunting because you're able to use anything anywhere you want for coyote hunting.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, so it's like you could be like, I'm not deer hunting, I'm coyote hunting with Orange Hunt. So there you go, kids. If you need to get out of trouble, just throw that in the old cap.
Don't actually
do that. Yeah. But that goes to show you, though, there's holes in the law that anytime there's holes that big, it doesn't make sense. But anyhow, because of that restricted zone, in that area, traditionally people would use muzzle loaders or slug guns. And slugs, you get very limited distance on. I mean, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to be shooting over 50 yards for most people with a slug gun. And with a muzzle loader, there's all kinds of issues with them. Number one, reloading isn't exactly quick unless you're from the Civil War area. And number two, they're not that consistent because there's a lot of human element in it. You have to put the powder in. They've got tabs and stuff now that are measured out that's better, but really ramming it down, they're very dirty. It's a one-shot situation. Their range isn't very good. They're not as accurate. There's a lot of issues with muzzle loaders in general, even though they've come a long way. So then people would basically dissected the law and we're like, okay, what could we use that would be more effective to making quick, clean, ethical kills, which I think is important, and for consistency that would replicate more of like a normal rifle. And that started the craze of the 450 Bushmaster and the 350 Legend, which are straight wall cartridges, which means if you look at the bullet, they're just very long and skinny, and they remind me of longer 357 Magnum rounds if you've ever looked at the handgun rounds. They look very handgunny, the rounds do. And the great benefit of those were they were standard rifle cartridges that you could load up in your gun and shoot like a normal rifle. And the 450 Bushmaster follows the rules of the straight wall cartridge. Now, the failures of the 450 Bushmaster, if you want to call them failures, are it's a very heavy round with a ton of lead that kicks like a mule. It's effective at its range, and that's what it's at. And then there was the 350 Legend. Now, the 350 Legend was a much smaller piece of lead that had a little bit better range because it's less of a projectile and had far less kick. But people argued about how good it is with knockdown power. And to be completely honest, you would not seek out these cartridges or these loads as your go-to rifle if, like, the zombie apocalypse happened and you could pick anything you want to deer hunt. That wouldn't be what you go to. Right. But in these restricted zones
where your hand is forced,
these are the ones that make the most sense. And it's kind of created this market, who could be the smartest to do it. And what happened was recently, and Savage is always at the cutting edge of this, is like, how do we make the best product for our customers in their particular areas? And Savage was smart enough to analyze these laws to make guns that would fit to help people in these different situations, as we just did with this new rifle she was talking about in Greenway Green. So they recently, Winchester came out with a new round, and it's called the 400 Legend. And I've only been able to study the box and the ammo and know that the Savage is going to come in this, so that's the extent of what I've gotten to do. But what I noticed right away was that the velocities were really good, and their big claim right now, too, and we're going to dive into that, is knockdown power. So I'm going to be deer hunting with it this year, and the knockdown power for this new round is supposed to beat out where the 350 Legend lacked. But then when you look at the 450 Bushmaster, it's going to have far less kick and be fun to shoot. The 450 Bushmaster is not fun to shoot. And you've got your tough guys. I know you're stronger than me. You're better than me in every way. But at the end of the day, like, it's not that pleasant to shoot it. So, although I do like the one that you have, because Savage made one with a giant muzzle brake on it. You have a 110. Mm-hmm. I forgot which one you have. There's a lot of 110s, but you have a 110 with a big old muzzle brake.
He's got the Haymaker.
Yeah.
The 450 Bushmaster.
Yeah. So there's a lot. What a cool name, Haymaker. So the 450 Bushmaster in that one with the big muzzle brake takes a lot of the kick off. You want to have ear protection on when you're shooting it in a blind, especially, but it's great beneficial there. But this new 400 Legend round, it'll be interesting how it shakes up, especially, and we're in the heart of it in Michigan. We are in the South Zone in Michigan. This is where we live. This is talked about a lot. There's always arguments between the 450 Legend or 450 Bushmaster and the 350 Legend here. You get a lot of people lean towards the 350 Legend if they're going to have kids or females or new hunters shooting, to not shy them away. And it seems like the people that have been hunting a while are like, get your shoulder into it and get you a 450. And that seems to be the two audiences that I've seen as far as the argument goes. But what's interesting about this round is that I think it's going to kind of split the difference. I think it's going to have more knockdown power based on the velocity and the energy transfer I'm looking at. So the velocity out of the muzzle is 2250, which is like reasonably fast. It's almost, I think it's very close to what the 350 Legend is. And I'm going to, in my blog that's going to be on Savage's website, I'm going to break all this down more thoroughly. But 2250 at the muzzle, looking at just trajectory. So they've got it so you're sighting it at 150 yards, which is very common. The reason why you'll see this quite often where most boxes of ammo will say 100 or 200. But given the fact that, like, the muzzle loader shot, you're not getting past 100 yards typically. Like, it's irresponsible to kind of go farther than that. It's like what's thought. With a slug gun, you would never get there. So with these straight wall cartridges, it seems like 150 seems to be the thing that everybody uses as their zero. So at 50 yards, you'd be high at 1.2 inches. At 100 yards, you'd be high 1.8 inches. And at 150, you'd be zeroed. And at 200 yards, you'd be 4.9 inches. Now, that's where I stopped being interested because I know that after the 200-yard mark, the bullet's going to drop off like a ton of bricks because these do. The straight wall cartridges do. And there's a reason why this one's allowed to be used. But, man, it pushes it as far as the numbers go because at 200 yards, you're only low 5 inches. 5 inches is not that much. I mean, 5 inches is like that. So if you're aiming a little high on the heart, you're good. You know what I'm saying? Like you're good out to 200 yards to pretty much put it on them. If you hit 200 yards, you could lift it a little. At 250 yards, it drops down 13 inches, and then 300 yards is 26. And again, very common for these. That's why we're allowed to use them, right?
Right.
So just going through it and the energy. At 150 yards, it's still 1,379 for energy transfer, and 200 yards, it's 1,132, and that's where it drops off to 930 at 250 yards. So again, I think it's going to be a 200-yard gun, but a lot of the 450s and stuff, I would have put them at 150 yards. So I like the fact that I think you're going to get a little bit more distance than the 450. I like the fact that the bullet itself is 215 grains. So a lot of the 350 Legends are in that 150 range. So you're getting pretty much similar ballistics, but with a bigger bullet, more knockdown power than the 350 Legend, but you're not blowing your shoulder away, and you're getting a little bit more distance than the 450 Bushmaster. So
and white, like deer hunting in Michigan, it's like 200 anything. Regardless of what you're using, anything past 200, you're starting to reach just based on like our landscape.
Right. So I would feel really cozy shooting at 200 yards, like feeling pretty confident about what's happening.
Yeah.
Once you get under 1,000, foot-pounds of energy, I get a little iffy on that. I like to keep it above 1,000 for that. So I think it's a great 200 round and closer, like you said, though. That's kind of all you need here.
Mm-hmm.
So you can sit at 200 yards and feel really comfortable with very little drop. It's just sighting it in. It's funny, it's around here too, Beth. Most of the gun ranges only have a 100-yard range. Like, they don't do...
That's what Minnesota is, too. Like, when I have to go for big game hunts, I struggle to find... I have one buddy that I can go with that I can shoot out to 200, but same. I mean, I'm 100, maybe 150 a few places, but a lot of the zeros, it's set at 100 here.
So I think, for me, this cartridge, and I'm excited to actually play with it, get down into it, and talk about it, but the 400 Legends new, like finding the ammo on shelves. I was at Bass Pro the other day, and I saw it, and the only reason why I learned about this cartridge in the first place was because Savage's announcement of their new gun had it listed. I was like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
And then that's what got me into it. So yeah, I'm going to be studying it. I'm going to be hunting with it this year. I'm going to have some feedback on it and what happened, and I'm pretty excited for that, to put that information together and get that out to people. What are your thoughts? I mean, I kind of covered a lot of it, but what are your thoughts? I'm sorry I rambled on it, but...
No, it's awesome. So we've always, like you said, we have a gun for everybody. So we've got a really good slug lineup. We have 450 Bushmaster guns that you guys have, one of that you use. 350 Legend has become, I think it's cracked into our top 5 or 6 calibers that we produce every year. And 400 Legend is going to take it to the next level. Like you said, it's, more energy, at 200 yards than a 350 Legend. It's, 20% less felt recoil in a 450 Bushmaster. And what we saw with a 350 Legend, it was a really good starter gun for kids to get into hunting.
Mm-hmm.
So this is, like you said, better knockdown power, still less recoil. I think this is going to knock, the 450 Bushmaster and 350 Legend down. And I think this will become the new go-to caliber for straight wall.
Yeah, I that's, as long as it does what it says, and we're going to get to the bottom of it, I think that's going to be the case. It's smart that you guys got in front of it with a budget gun that has all those features like the Cerakoting and everything, the AccuTrigger. People can feel good about getting it, and then get it in that new cartridge. I think that's pretty cool. When will people start seeing that gun on the shelves?
So the Trail Hunter, in a multitude of calibers has actually been shipping for about 2 weeks. So you can actually find that out on, online sales right now, or should be in stores now. The 400 Legend version of that should be shipping probably in the next 2 weeks. Due to the Cerakote, that one got delayed a little bit just because of the outside processing time for Cerakote. But the Axis platform, we've got some 110 Apex, which come with the Vortex optic on there, are on shelves now, and I think you're actually getting the Hog Hunter version of this, which is also a different colored green, so it should pair well with you, Kyle.
I'm loving it. So one of the other things that I wanted to talk about too was kind of our experience over the last year of working directly with Savage. And obviously I've made it abundantly known that I was working with Savage before I was working with Savage. But I would say that, again, I think I was confirmed in my thinking as far as seeing how the companies run. If you follow Savage on Instagram or if you go to their website or anything like that, they're always putting out content. And what I appreciate about you guys having Savage Journeys, you guys kind of understand the struggles of what it is to put content together and how difficult it is. But tell us a little bit real quick about Savage Journeys, and it's found on Carbon TV, I know, but tell us a little bit about that show too.
Absolutely. So one of the things that we wanted to celebrate, and this is a passion industry that we're in, and to me, the firearm that we put in people's hands is the tool to get the job done. The story is everything else that happens around it, and we wanted to be a brand that really helps celebrate that. And we know every hunt, there's a story. Every time you walk into a new camp with new hunters, everybody has a story to tell, and that's one of the things that we wanted to kind of put a series behind and celebrate that. So we've been doing these for probably 3 years now, and we find different partners or different storylines depending on whatever the hunt is, and we really want to celebrate the lifestyle. And a lot of that is similar to what you guys are doing. We want new eyeballs. We need new hunters and shooters in this space, and I think if we can help them see the bigger picture, it's not just about killing something. It's about having a full freezer, 3 freezers in my garage.
You are in a hunt now.
Seriously. So I recently moved, and the amount of meat I have is a little crazy. So I share with everybody.
Yeah.
So I take pride in helping educate people, and I help friends come over and help me process my antelope. They came over and helped me do that. But we wanted to celebrate that lifestyle and really help break down barriers to entry, show that it can be done. And that's really what we've taken pride in, is doing content really well that will resonate with people outside the industry. And, hopefully it helps elevate our brand. But at the end of the day, we just need this space to continue to grow.
Sure. And that forward thinking was, been my experience in the past year. I've only talked to obviously like 4 Savage members, but everybody kind of has the same drive and the same passion as you. And at the end of the day, you guys are like the gun company kind of leading the charge in getting new people into the outdoors. And again, having a gun for everybody. You guys are very forward thinking. You understand getting content out there is key, that I think you guys are kind of the future of the industry, as you've also been the past. What I've really enjoyed about the Savages, obviously, is, for me, it's all about what happens on the shooting board. As far as like really good groupings, your barrels cool really fast. That's what I like about the barrels, is they cool fast. I'm not at the shooting range for a long time, but my groupings have been fantastic. I don't want to use anything but an AccuTrigger now. And as far as like the Renegade goes, I'm really happy with everything being oversized, as far as being able to like close the action with gloves on, being able to open it with gloves on. And we actually had a competitor shotgun that was given to us a couple years ago that was used on a hunt where the what do you even call it? The thing you would grab to open the action on a semi-auto shotgun, the little thing that gets out, and it got knocked off just in the hunt, and then you couldn't get it open. And that's not going to happen with the Renegade. As far as like everything's very solid on it. I really like the 16 gauge that I got to hunt with as well. I'm really happy with that. But overall, I'm just really happy that they're accurate. Like, that's what it really comes down to. Because when you pull the trigger, you have to be sure, especially on a long distance shot. And if you're worried about your gun, you can't have that comfort. And that's been something for me, is like I just never had. if I miss, it's on me. You know what I mean? And that's like that's kind of
how you want it.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I felt.
The Greenway Outdoors is brought to you by Ram Trucks, built to serve. Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's, your adventure starts here. Savage Arms, Nosler Ammunition, Bosch Shot Shells, Wilderness Athlete, fuel for the rugged, Tracker Boats, fish the finest, Eagle Fishing, designed for the savvy angler, Rufus Teague barbecues, snacks, and spices, Rectech Grills, it's more than a grill, it's a way of life, Sea-Doo, make your own waves, LEM Products, motivating people to hunt, process, and prepare their own food, Quiet Cat, the leader in electronic bikes for hunting, fishing, camping, and exploring. Consistency. That's what you aim for with every practice shot. So when you're out in the field, you get that same consistency every shot. With Carlson's choke tubes, consistency is what you'll get. Our choke tubes are long-lasting, high quality, and made right here in the USA. Carlson's choke tubes, pattern tested, hunter approved. Find out more at choketube.com.
Are you anxious to get going? Knowing that the clock is ticking and time truly is the most precious commodity in the world? Then you, my friend, are in good company.
For more of the Greenway Outdoors, head over to thegreenwayoutdoors.com for our weekly video podcast, how-to videos, Greenway gear, and information on our shooting partners.
I wanted to also hit on something that's going to be kind of fun. Ryan, you don't even know this is going to happen.
Oh, great.
AJ does. So I did not cheat. So let's get that out now. And I'm sure I'll lose, so then we can put it there. But what I did was I sent AJ a list of 25 questions that are like trivia.
Oh.
And AJ is going to read them to us, so he knows the answers. But I don't know any of the answers. So
you sent him the questions?
I didn't write them. No. It was a website. Somebody else put these together.
Oh, okay.
So it was a website, and you had to click on each one to get the answer. So I didn't do that.
Okay.
So no, I did. I knew this. I don't even want to. But there are like questions that I thought would be fun for me, you, and Beth to do.
All right.
And then AJ could ask them. And then we'll figure out who wins at the end. Somebody will have to tally. We'll put it tally up on the screen.
Okay.
Make Jeffrey do it.
Yeah.
All right, AJ. So hit us with the questions.
What is the biggest animal that can be legally hunted in North America? A, bison, B, moose, C, elk, or D, grizzly bear?
Oh,
dang, that's actually
God,
kinda
I don't
hard.
know the answer right out of the gate.
I would say
so. We've hunted buffalo and moose, but we shot a female moose and a female buffalo. So neither of which are like super representation. And like, if you're able to shoot a wild buffalo, what does that look like? Like, what are they? 1,500 pounds, something like that. But you could see a bull moose.
I would say more. I'd say buffalo. That'd be my guess.
Really? I'd say a grizzly bear.
How big does a grizzly? I don't think a grizzly bear gets.
Have you we walk into Cabela's and it stands 12 foot tall?
You don't have to be mean. This is a fun competition.
And what about what about when they're fat in the wintertime or something?
So you've got grizzly bear.
I've got grizzly.
And you've got bison.
I'm going buffalo. Yeah, bison.
And then what were the other two?
Moose and elk.
It's not elk.
No, not elk.
I'm going to go with moose.
Moose is correct.
Yeah!
What? Come on.
Because a bull moose, think about it, because a female moose is like 1,000 pounds. So a bull moose, I was thinking, would probably edge out bison, because the bison was only 1,100 pounds that we shot. So how big can it get? All right, score one for Kyle.
Yeah.
Next.
All right.
I found the questions.
I know. I knew this was going to be a thing.
Which state has the largest deer population? A, Texas, B, Wisconsin, C, Pennsylvania, or D, Michigan?
Wisconsin.
Texas is a bigger state.
Yeah, Wisconsin all day.
You're so confident.
I'm with Wisconsin on this one.
What is it again?
You didn't make a guess.
I know. Is it when they say just population? Are they saying it's just straight
population? And then
yeah. Are they saying just population, or is it like per square mile?
Which state has the largest deer population?
Dang, you think they're all surviving the winter?
That's my guess.
You don't seem like you're
I'm
guessing.
very sure.
And she jumped right in with you without thinking twice. Texas is such a big state, and they're like dogs there.
Go ahead.
Is
Lock-
it white?
lock
Does
it
it
in.
say whitetail or does it say deer?
Just deer. No
I'm-
more indents.
Texas.
Texas is correct.
No way.
It's bigger.
What?
It's bigger. It's bigger, and they're smaller. Because you're adding a winter in.
This is rigged.
I know that it's now. I'm like not sure I should be getting them right because you're gonna think I swear in the Holy Bible I didn't cheat.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
Next.
Maybe
Enjoy your
Maybe
afterlife.
I should have said whitetail, because I guess if you throw in Axis, then maybe that throws Texas up there.
They have muleys too, don't they?
Oh yeah.
They do.
That's what I'm saying. Is like you're like mad like the answer's not what it
The
is.
question is poorly worded questions.
One of them is questionable. But next question.
Okay.
Which state has the longest hunting season? A, Alaska, B, Louisiana, C, Maine, or D, Virginia? Longest hunting season. Alaska, Louisiana, Maine, Virginia.
It's not Maine. Alaska simply can't be that long. So you got to go to warm. So you got Louisiana and what?
Virginia.
Virginia doesn't care about nothing though.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
So it's Virginia or Louisiana. What do you got, Beth?
Louisiana.
I might do that too.
I'm doing
It's gonna be
Louisiana.
like waterfowl or something.
Virginia.
I knew it was
Oh.
one of the. It was one of those two.
Is there any like feedback on like what it?
No.
I'd like to know what that season is.
We just lost that one.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
I should have gone with Virginia. I'm a contrarian in general.
All right, here we go.
Okay.
How many antler points does a bull need to have before he can be legally hunted? 4, 6, 8, or 10?
Does it say what state?
Nope.
I'm gonna guess 4.
How
Yeah,
many antler points does a bull need to have before he can be legally hunted?
Yeah, it's got to be 4. What's the name of this article?
Yeah.
Yeah. What?
I want to make sure there's not like a piece of information I left out. Like, it's all the question. Like, so questions for podcasts. It's called Trivia Bliss. Fun trivia questions about hunting. Yeah. So it doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
Okay. So antler points. I'm gonna go with 4. Yeah, I think it's 4.
I got 4.
4 is correct.
4.
All of us
Okay.
are 4. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Next.
There we go.
You can tell someone made this quiz that doesn't hunt.
Which state has the highest percentage of hunting license holders?
Ooh.
South Dakota, Texas, Vermont, or Louisiana?
South Dakota.
South Dakota.
Has the wait?
Percentage.
Highest percentage of hunting
Oh.
license holders.
Yeah, that's a kind of yeah. Then I gotta go with that too.
That is correct.
Yeah, because
South
you just
Dakota.
figure not that many people all hunt.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the play.
Yep.
I'm glad you said percentage
Yeah,
because
well, that's the question.
you heard it.
All right. Which state has the most deer per square mile? Mississippi, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, or Michigan? Most
This
deer.
might be your Wisconsin one.
Most deer per square mile.
Per square mile.
What is say the places again?
Mississippi, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan.
I'm sticking with Wisconsin.
Beth.
I kind of want to say Mississippi, but I'm going to say Wisconsin.
I think it's Pennsylvania or Michigan.
I think it's Wisconsin or Michigan. Because I think those two states are top 2 for whitetail. Wisconsin beating us in whitetail, I believe.
I'm gonna go with Pennsylvania.
You had Wisconsin. She had.
What did you?
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
It's Mississippi.
Oh, none of us.
With
None of us.
38 deer per square mile.
Jeez, they're gross.
Wow.
They're all like 22 pounds.
I think that's it because the rest of them are
Probably.
just not good questions.
All right,
You'll
that's
get it.
that's our quiz. Beth, do you have any fun questions for us? Like a something to try and blindside us? I blindsided you. We didn't talk about like anything we're supposed to.
I know we did pretty well though. What's a savage we're missing in the lineup that we need to start thinking about?
Ooh,
Possibly the thing my dad wants.
the Craig.
No, yeah, 30-40 Craig. My
Yeah.
dad has a gun from like 1895 that he built half of, and it was obsolete before World War I. We'll leave it there. It's like 1600.
Oh no, what gunner? I got it.
Yeah, I mean I know what I want. Go ahead.
A custom Greenway Outdoors gun.
Yep.
What was that?
We
a
need
a
we need to
custom Greenway
make-
Outdoors gun.
and I think it should be a shotgun. I think we should.
Ooh.
I think we should, because the Renegade is an amazing gun, but it takes a certain. In my opinion, I think the Renegade is good for someone that's a little bit bigger and a little bit longer. Everything's oversized. I think we need to make a more traditional semi-auto shotgun with Greenway Outdoors doing it together.
Yeah,
that's
that'd
the
be pretty
gun.
sweet.
Yep, that's the gun missing. Like, and we'd hit like,
But-
and we would hit like the $950 price point with it, or maybe $1,200, because we'll make it in the USA. So they gotta understand.
What about like a John Wilkes Booth snub nose?
A snub nose.
Mm-hmm.
Although the handguns are everything. I mean, I didn't touch on that at all. I'm gonna hit on that really quick. Actually, as fun as the mystery game is, so I just got the 1911. The gun's incredible. From like it might be the most solid gun Savage makes. That gun is solid. Like you hold it, everything about it is
looks
nice.
beautiful.
It's gorgeous. Everything about it is solid. It doesn't kick. It's incredibly easy to shoot. It's everything about it is like high end. There's nothing. It's like Ferrari. Like it's very high end would be the way that I would describe it. Go look at the Savage 1911. Find a way to get one of those. If you're in the market for a 1911, please just go look at them. It's such a complete difference compared to anything else. In addition to that, the stance. So that's my carry gun. The stance is a 9mm. It has we've got a few different options for you. We've got the one with the laser. We've got the one with the light, kind of like glowy type sights, like the high vis sights, and then we've got like your standard one. The price point on that is sub $600, and it's really, really, really good. They're accurate. The grip on them is incredible. So one of the problems with a lot of guns is like how to get it seated properly for like a carry gun. It seats really well in your hand, and the grip on it is so ridiculous that if you spent some time rubbing your leg with it, you'd wear it through your pants.
It's so grippy that if you're holding the gun, if you let go like this, it sticks
Stays.
in your hand.
It does not. It doesn't do that. But yeah, I wanted to touch on those handguns because that's something Savage is moving more into. We started out with the stance. It is a great carry gun. If you're looking for a carry gun, and if you want a laser, we can do it. If you want the high-vis sights, we can do it. If you want just the traditional, you can do it. You can get the thumb safety. You can get it without the thumb safety. They're just a great, solid gun for inexpensive that you'll be able to count on. I really love it. The 1911, that's like your Ferrari. So just, I highly recommend it. I have it in the 45 ACP. Do we make it 9?
We make it in 9. We're just starting to get that one shipping right now, though. And if you like handguns, I would say watch out for the next 9 to 12 months because there's a lot more coming. So if you guys come out to the factory, maybe we'll let you peek behind the curtain a little bit. But
Shoot behind the curtain.
there's a lot more coming.
She's like, no, don't shoot in here. Don't shoot behind the curtain. Well, that wraps up this podcast. Beth, thank you so much for joining us. It was great hanging out
Thank
with
you,
you.
guys.
I hope we see you in South Dakota. And if not, we're going to be doing a hunt together next year. Hopefully this answers all of your questions. Go and visit the Savage website. There is hundreds of guns there to look at. Lots and lots of options. And now you kind of know the difference in kind of the guns that we're using and the guns that we like. Thank you so much for tuning into the Greenway Outdoors podcast. You can find a new episode every week right here. If you're only listening to us and you want to hurt yourself a little bit and actually visually look at us, you can actually go to Carbon TV or YouTube and visually watch this episode as well. And it's kind of fun because we include all kinds of things in the B-roll and that sort of thing as well. Our main TV show you can find right now on History Streaming at history.com or the History app or the History on your TV. You can find us right there. Thanks so much for tuning in, and stay green.